You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. Oh, there's something about your love. Something about your love changes everything in my body. Oh, something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing. 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 Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything.
Good morning, Firmly Rooted family. Pastor Tom, Firmly Rooted Ministries. It's Wednesday morning. Beautiful day in southeastern Michigan. We got to remember these last few weeks, man. We've been blessed. We have been blessed with some amazing weather, cool in the morning, nice and warm and not too hot in the evening. Just a good. And so great to have all of you on board. Once again, we are failing to get out on Facebook on the Greendale page or my personal page. Aaron's going to check into that more today. But if this is basically what they've done before, when I had to shut down my Rooted Men's group, I had a group of like 200-300 men that were doing devotions and stuff, and they shut it down. We have got to move to some other places. And so I'm encouraging you, please, YouTube, which most of you I see are on YouTube right now. That's great. But they may be the next to censor. I would encourage you to look at X. I would encourage you to look at Rumble. And we are going to try to get on True Social today. They're just other platforms. Some of them are social media platforms where you can talk to each other. Rumble is like YouTube. So X and True Social are more like Facebook. Rumble is more like YouTube. And they're basically committed to free speech. And so the likelihood of getting shut down like this will end. And we're also going to have to get an announcement out to people, even on Sunday morning, to not look for us on Facebook. I mean, just imagine. You speak a life-giving message that the whole world needs to hear every morning, and somehow they find that offensive and it gets shut down. It is so strange. What else do I have for you? Oh, there may be, most likely will be, a pretty cool announcement made on Sunday. So you might want to stay tuned and be there online or be there in person. All right, let's see. Praise to him. Good morning, Chuck B. Good morning, family. Vivian Davis, good morning. I'm out there on X. Good morning from Rooted Family. Connie Sandbrink, good morning. Dr. Colleen, good morning. Bert Reggiani, good morning. Christy Bipes, good morning. Christy, not only continued prayers for you, but I'm fully aware of the condition of Janice. And just please share our love and our prayers with the family. And I'm hoping to get a couple elders there and be able to pray with her and pray with Roger over the phone, just to try to minister to them. So a lot going on in the Bipes family. And so we're going to lift that whole family up. All right, everybody, add it to your prayer list. All right. Let me, I didn't put the text on here yet. Sorry about that. Let me pull up the text. We're looking at Hebrews chapter 5. And if I understand right, I'm on 7 through 10. So we got to go to 6 for a second because this is the first reference to Melchizedek. So we're talking about Jesus. I mean, this is like 3-4 chapters now. Who Jesus is. He is God. He is the one that is higher than the angels, that he was there at creation, that he is my son, says God. And so at any rate, if you look at verses 5, so also Christ did not exalt himself to be made high priest, but was appointed by him who said to him. So Jesus is this high priest, the once and for all high priest who goes into the eternal behind the curtain, and his blood is shed, and he bears the sins of all humanity, and he pays for them all at one time. And now sacrifices are over. That's why the temple curtain tore on the day of Jesus' death. There's no more need for sacrifices. The only need is to believe in Jesus, that God sent his own son into the world. So he's the high priest as well as the sacrifice itself. You are my son, today I have begotten you. And he says also in another place, you are a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. All right, everybody, we got to go back to Abraham. We got to go back to like Genesis 14. We got to go back to the fact that some local kings raided Abraham, and Abraham sought God, and God said, go get them. And so he took his men and went and chased them down and defeated them and got his animals back. He got his servants back. He got everybody back. God was faithful. He was faithful in a tough situation, a rough situation. God was faithful, and Abraham comes back victorious. And all of a sudden he meets this priest of God, Melchizedek, and he bows before him. And he gives him a tenth of everything he has. Melchizedek, my king. It says he's the king of Salem, shalom, peace. Jerusalem, the city that David finally makes the epicenter of Jewish nation and Jewish faith and religion, is in Jerusalem. Melchizedek. So many theologians have bantered around as to who this is, because there is no other reference in the Old Testament saying, well, one of Noah's descendants ended up being in the priesthood, and then there's this king. So I tend to align myself with others who believe that this is just one of the theophanies, and this is actually Jesus, the second person of the Trinity. It's called a theophany. Theo, God, ophany, reveals himself like epiphany. He reveals himself in a human body. It's the same Abraham who two angels, and this other individual met with him and told him what was going to be happening to Sodom and Gomorrah. It's the same individual that came to him and told him that he was going to have a birth, even at his old age. You want to know how close and intimate Jesus is? His spirit dwells in you. He is not far away. Abraham falls to the ground and gives him a tenth of everything that he has. Now, if that's a theophany, I sure don't know what God did with all that stuff as Abraham walked away. But the point is, you give a tenth to God, not to some random person that you meet in the desert. He was thanking this king, Melchizedek, and he's associating the victory that he had to him, and he praises him and blesses him and thanks him. All right, there's more I could say about Melchizedek, but please, look it up. My king is the Melchizedek can be broken up into two words, which is my king. In the days of his flesh, Jesus offered up prayers and supplications. In the days of his flesh, Jesus went into solitary places, praying for the ministry, praying for his disciples, praying for protection, praying for where we should go next and where should the ministry move to next. Listen, with loud cries and tears to him who is able to save him from death. What's he referring to? The Garden of Gethsemane, where he's in anguish. And he tells his disciples to pray with him. Pray, stay awake, and pray with me. He is moments away from being arrested. He's moments away from being handcuffed and taken. He's moments away from being scourged and beaten. He's moments away from having a false trial. He's moments away from hearing Pilate say that he could be crucified. And he's in that garden, sweating great drops of blood, loud cries and tears. Don't think about this as mechanical, that Jesus just walked in and then he bore our sins and then he did this. Stop it. He took on human flesh. He cried at Lazarus's tomb. Stop making him something that he's not. He's the God of the universe that we got to see in the flesh. He became one of us. He understands us. He feels our pain. He feels our hurts. He feels our wants. He feels it all. The second person of the Trinity in a human form was crying out with loud cries and tears to him, to his own Father, that he has dwelt with from all of eternity, who was able to save him from death. And he was heard because of his reverence. But he didn't save him from death. Father, not my will, but thine be done. There it is. He's feeling the fear. He's feeling the anxiety. He's feeling the pain. He's knowing the cup of wrath that he's going to be drinking. He knows. And finally says, I don't matter. I know why we're doing this. And he sacrifices himself on our behalf. Although he was a son, he learned obedience through what he suffered. Although he was a son, he learned obedience through what he suffered. What it means is that as we suffer and as we face challenges, we fall into sin. We try to take care of things ourselves. We try to do it ourselves. Jesus never did. Jesus stayed in the will of God. Jesus had wisdom and discernment. that made him flawless, even if it was going to create pain, even if it was going to create harm to him. He learned obedience through his suffering, and being made perfect, he became the source of eternal salvation to all who obey him. That word obey is believe, obey, right? I always say it's the two sides of the same coin. You can't just believe in Jesus. You have to believe in Jesus and obey Jesus. Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and don't do what I say, right? We keep separating these two, but faith produces works. If I'm a branch that has been grafted to the vine of Jesus, I should produce fruits. It's just the natural outcome because of the source. Being designated by God a high priest after the order of Melchizedek. I guess I'll just end this way, and I don't mean for this to be some kind of a stewardship message. So let me talk about this whole idea that I use. As soon as I say the word stewardship, everybody says money. The parable is, I've given you some talents and I've given you some time. And someday I'm going to ask you, what did you do with what I gave you? And as long as we're putting it to work, we're going to hear, well done, thou good and faithful servant. We bury that talent. We bury all of that. Don't do anything with it. Well, we know the outcome. We don't live for this world. We live for the one that we are eternally connected to because of the Spirit living within us, because we're born again. We're just visitors here. And everything about us should change when it comes to our attitude in this world. The church has basically said, look, there's three things: time, talents, and treasures. That's all we got. God gives us time to be on this earth. God provides each of us talents and even spiritual gifts to be used. And he gives us bounty, wealth, so that we can survive in this world and support his kingdom. Melchizedek gets 10% of what Abraham has as a thank offering. I mean, you gave it to me anyways, and I'm giving it back to you. Stewardship should be a whole life of gratitude for what Christ has done for me. It's our why. Gratitude. So why do you donate time to serve the church? Because I am so thankful, as Abraham was, for God's faithfulness. Why do you give of your hard-earned income? Because I am so grateful, and I want others to know Jesus. And so I support my church or whatever. Talents. Why do you use them to help the church? And why do you use time? You only got so much, because God's the giver of it all. And someday he's going to ask me, what did you do with what I gave you? And I want to have evidence that I lived out my faith and served a kingdom that I'm going to be eternally in. And I want to start that now. I want to serve him now of my time, talents, and treasures, just as Abraham did with Melchizedek. All right. I hope that was a blessing to you. And I really, I know a lot of pastors do a really terrible job about stewardship. And I would just kind of tell you that just like Jesus's parables about servants that have been left to take care of things, that's us. We've been left to take care of things. And he's going to come back and say, did you? Did you take care of the things the way that I told you to take care of them? As sons and daughters who believe in me, did you follow the Great Commission and go make disciples? Did you serve in my in the kingdom of God? Did you begin to take the roots out of the kingdom of this world and transplant them into his kingdom so that you're more in this kingdom than you are in that kingdom? Those are the questions. It takes us right back to the judgment on the last day. When I was hungry, you fed me. When I was naked, you clothed me. When I was in prison, you visited me. When did we do all that? When you gave up of your time, talents, and treasures to the least of these, you did it, is what he's saying. It's not how you earn salvation. It is how the saved live. It's the two sides of the coin. If we're redeemed, there should be an output. And that's it. I'll leave it at that because I could turn that thing into a sermon. Karen Thompson, good morning. Just a reminder, everybody, tell other people that you know that may not be on this devotion because they're usually on Facebook. I think of Alice and some of the others. Get the word out, please. Get the word out that we're right now not able to broadcast on Facebook, and everybody's got to get to YouTube, X, Rumble, and I hope soon True Social. All right, that's it. And looking forward to our little announcement coming up this Sunday. All right, blessings on your day. Make it a firmly rooted day, and may someone see Jesus in us today. Peace.